Hello. In this episode, you will discover your English level: beginner, elementary, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced, or expert. No test needed. No teacher required. Just use your ears and a little concentration. You will listen to 6 short stories, one for each level. If you find one story easy and the next one harder, that's just right. That's how you identify your level. The first level is A1, beginner. At this stage, English is straightforward and clear. Sentences are short. Words are common and simple. If you can understand this easily, you are at least A1. My name is Anna. I'm 26 years old. I live with my parents. We have a small dog named Max. I like my dog very much. We live in a small house. A house has 3 rooms: a living room, a kitchen, and a bedroom. Our home is tidy and peaceful. There is a park near the house. Every evening I walk to the park with my dog. He runs and plays with other dogs. I sit on a bench and watch him. The park is green and beautiful. Every morning I wake at 7 o'clock. I get up. I eat breakfast in the kitchen. I drink tea. After breakfast, I brush my teeth. Then I go to work. I work in a small shop near my home. I walk to work. It takes 10 minutes. In the shop, I sell food and drinks. I help customers. I take money and give change. My boss is kind. My work is simple. At 12 o'clock, I have lunch. I eat rice or a sandwich. Sometimes I drink coffee. At 5 o'clock, I finish work. I go home. I'm tired but happy. I cook dinner for my parents. We eat together. We talk and laugh. After dinner, I wash the dishes. In the evening, I watch TV. Sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I read a small book. At 10 o'clock, I go to bed. I'm sleepy. My dog sleeps beside me. Before I sleep, I think about my day. I feel good. My life is simple, but I'm happy each day. All right. If you understood this story easily, congratulations. Your English is at least A1. You can follow short sentences and familiar topics. Now let's move to A2, elementary. Here, the English gets slightly richer and more connected. Sentences are longer, and you will hear more about routines, plans, and daily activities. If you can follow this story without trouble, you are at least A2 level. My name is Mark. I live in a small apartment near the city. It's not large, but it's comfortable. There is a small kitchen, a bedroom, and a living room. From my window, I can see a park and tall trees. In the morning, I often hear birds singing. I work in an office not far from my home. I usually walk to work because it only takes 10 minutes. When the weather is bad, I take the bus. I start work at 8:30 and finish at 5. I answer phone calls, send emails, and assist my manager with small tasks. My colleagues are friendly. We often talk during our lunch break. At lunchtime, I go to a small cafe with two coworkers. We sit by the window and talk about our families or our weekend plans. Sometimes we laugh a lot because one coworker tells funny stories. After work, I don't go home right away. I usually go to the gym for an hour. I exercise and listen to music on my phone. When I finish, I feel tired but good. Exercise helps me unwind after a long day. Around 7, I go home. Before dinner, I take a shower and change my clothes. Then I cook something simple. Sometimes I eat while watching my favorite TV show. On weekends, my routine is different. I meet friends in the city center. We go for coffee, walk around, and occasionally watch a movie. If the weather is nice, we sit in the park and talk for hours. Okay, well done. If this story felt easy to follow, your English is at least A2. You can understand short connected sentences about real life, work, and free time. Now get ready for B1, intermediate level. If you can follow the entire story and grasp the main message, you are around 1B or better. My name is Liam, and I work as a computer technician. I fix laptops, install programs, and assist people when their devices don't work. I've done this job for almost 6 years now, and I still enjoy it. I like my job because it's a mix of logic and creativity. Every problem is unique, and finding the right solution feels like solving a puzzle. I begin work at 8 o'clock in the morning. When I arrive, I make a cup of coffee and check the list of repairs for the day. Sometimes the problems are small, a keyboard that doesn't work or a system that runs slowly. But sometimes they're bigger and I must spend hours testing each part of a computer. It can be frustrating, but when I finally fix something, I feel proud and satisfied. My colleagues are friendly. We often help each other when someone faces a tough case. I believe teamwork is one of the most important parts of any job. You can learn a lot from people who think differently from you. After work, I like to relax my mind. I don't go home immediately. Instead, I walk to the park near the office. I listen to music or simply enjoy the calm. When I arrive home, I cook dinner and watch something online, usually a documentary or short film in English. In the evenings, I study online. I take a course about new computer systems because I want to start my own business in the future. It's hard work, but I believe it's worth it. I want to be independent and help people in my own way. On weekends, I usually rest. Sometimes I meet friends or hike in the countryside. All right, if this story made sense and felt natural to you, congratulations. Your English is at minimum B1. Now, let's move ahead to B2, upper intermediate. At this stage, you can understand longer stories and detailed ideas. The speaker sounds more fluent and confident. You will hear natural phrases, comparisons, and reflections about life and work. My name is Nina, and I'm a freelance graphic designer. For several years, I worked at a large company creating logos and advertisements for clients. The job was safe, people were kind, and the salary was good. But after a while, I began to feel bored and stuck. Every day looked the same office, the same projects, the same conversations. I began to realize that even though everything looked fine on the surface, something important was missing. I wasn't growing. I wanted more freedom, more creativity, and more control over my time. So, 2 years ago, I made one of the biggest decisions of my life. I resigned from my job and decided to work for myself. I remember my last day at the office very clearly. People brought me flowers and kind words, but inside I was both excited and scared. I had no plan, no clients, and no idea how to begin. But I knew that if I did not try, I would always wonder what might have happened. At first, life as a freelancer was really tough. I woke up early each morning, opened my laptop, and attempted to find work online. I messaged small businesses, emailed old contacts, and crafted a portfolio website to display my design work. Some days, nobody responded. Other days, a client approached me for a project, but offered very little money. It was difficult to stay motivated. There were days when I worked 10 hours and earned almost nothing. I cried occasionally and thought about returning to my previous job. But deep down, I knew I had to be patient. I told myself that every small step, every email, every design, every new skill would lead somewhere forward. I started learning again. I watched free online courses, joined webinars about design, and read articles on marketing and freelancing. I realized that freelancing isn't only about talent, it's about communication and organization too. You must learn how to explain your ideas clearly, how to manage time, and how to deal with different kinds of clients. Little by little, things began to change. My designs improved, my confidence grew, and new clients started reaching out. Some of them came from referrals. People who liked my work told their friends about me. That was the moment I knew I was moving in the right direction. Now my life looks very different. I typically begin my mornings around 8. I make coffee, check emails, and write a list of tasks I need to complete. My living room is also my office. It's modest but comfortable. There's a large window with lots of light, and I've decorated the space with plants and art prints. I enjoy working there because it feels peaceful and personal, not like the old office with gray walls and noisy phones. When I have a busy day, I can spend hours in front of the screen, completely focused, but I always attempt to take short breaks every couple of hours. I stretch, drink tea, or water my plants. Sometimes I step outside for 10 minutes just to breathe fresh air. When the weather is nice, I bring my laptop to a cafe nearby and work there for a few hours. Hearing voices and cups clinking helps me feel less alone. The best part of being a freelancer is the freedom it grants me. I can choose the projects I take and the way I work. If I want to take a few days off, I can. If I want to work late into the night, nobody stops me. This flexibility is something I never had before, and it changes how I feel about my work. I can plan my schedule based on my energy, not just office hours. That kind of freedom I truly value, but of course it isn't always smooth. There are challenges you don't always see. Working alone means there's no one giving feedback or saying you did a good job. Sometimes I miss having coworkers to laugh with or ask quick advice, and the income isn't always stable. 1 month can be fantastic, full of projects and rewarding payments, and the next can be very quiet. That's stressful, especially when you have bills to pay. but I've learned to plan ahead. When I earn more, I save part of it for slower months. Freelancing has taught me responsibility and forward thinking. I've also learned how to manage clients and how not to take things personally. In the beginning, I felt down when someone didn't like a design I made. Now I understand that each person sees things differently. Good communication is everything. If you listen carefully and ask the right questions, you can usually find a path to satisfy everyone. Another major lesson I learned is believing in yourself. When you work alone, there's no one there to motivate you. You have to raise that energy from within. I remind myself that every project, big or small, is a chance to learn and improve. If something fails, I try to view it as part of the journey, not a defeat. In the evenings, I like to disconnect from work completely. I close my laptop, put away my phone, and do something that helps me unwind. Sometimes I go for a run. Sometimes I meet friends for dinner. And sometimes I just listen to soft music while cooking. I also love drawing, not for clients, but for myself. When I draw for fun, I feel like a child again. No pressure, no deadlines, no one watching. It reminds me why I became a designer in the first place. Because I love creating things from nothing. When I complete a small drawing that I genuinely like, I feel free. That simple joy is exactly what I sought when I left my old job. Looking back now, I'm proud of the risk I took. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was one of the hardest things I have done, but it changed me in ways I didn't expect. I've become more organized, more patient, and much more confident. Most importantly, I've learned that independence doesn't mean being alone. It means accepting responsibility for your decisions and trusting yourself enough to create your own path. You must be patient. You must walk slowly, step by step, and believe the road you are on will lead somewhere meaningful. And it has. I may not earn as much as before, and I don't have a big team around me, but I wake each morning feeling proud of what I do. I have built a life that feels like mine. And every time I finish a project or hear that a client is pleased with my work, I smile and think, yes, this is exactly where I belong. If you could follow this story without difficulty, then your English is upper intermediate or higher. You are ready for advanced English, where deeper thoughts and reflections come in. Let's move to C1, Advanced Level. Now English becomes genuinely natural and expressive. You will hear more abstract ideas, longer sentences, and deeper reflections on work and life. My name is David. I work as a project manager in a technology company. I have been in this field for nearly 10 years, and during that time, I've realized something interesting. Managing people often proves more complex than managing projects. Projects have timelines, budgets, and tangible results. People, on the other hand, carry emotions, ideas, and entirely different perspectives on the same situation. Balancing both is what makes my role so fascinating and, at times, so challenging. A regular day for me begins early. I prefer arriving before everyone else, while the office remains calm. That first half hour sets the tone for the entire day. I brew a coffee, open my laptop, and review the list of ongoing projects. I read messages from clients, review updates from the team, and attempt to foresee where potential problems might emerge. This is my time to plan. When the team arrives, the atmosphere changes. There's motion, dialogue, a sense of purpose. Every project differs. Sometimes we are creating a new app. Other times, we're refining an existing system. Each assignment demands coordination between developers, designers, and clients. My task is not the technical work itself. It's ensuring everyone has what they need to succeed. In a way, I act as a bridge, connecting disparate parts of the process so communication flows smoothly. When someone on the team feels lost or anxious, my instinct is to listen first, not dictate. It took me years to learn that leadership isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about forming a space where people feel safe to ask questions and share ideas. Most issues at work don't stem from skill gaps. They stem from miscommunication or misunderstanding. If you help people feel heard, they often find the answer themselves. I've also realized that good leadership isn't about control. It's about trust. When your team trusts you, they'll tell you the truth. They'll admit mistakes, share feedback, and take initiative. But trust doesn't emerge overnight. It's constructed over time through consistency, transparency, and respect. You can't demand it. You must earn it. In my team, I strive to be transparent about decisions. If things go wrong, we discuss them openly. I'd rather have awkward honesty than silent frustration. People respect clarity even when the news is disappointing. When the team understands why a decision was made, they accept it more easily, even though they might not fully agree. And when things go well, I make sure we acknowledge that, even in small ways. A few words of thanks, a team lunch, a short note of appreciation. It costs nothing, but it matters. Of course, not everything goes smoothly. Sometimes deadlines shift, clients change their minds, or unexpected technical setbacks occur. In those moments, my role is to keep everyone composed and focused. If I react with panic, the team will too. So I remain grounded and remind everyone, mistakes aren't failures, they're stepping stones. We talk about what happened. We learn. We move on. One project I'll never forget, a major software launch 2 years ago. Everything seemed ready. Until 2 days before release, the system crashed during testing. The entire team worked late into the night trying to find the problem. Everyone was exhausted and frustrated. Instead of pushing harder, I asked the team to take a short break. We ordered food, stepped outside, had a chat about anything but work. An hour later, one developer discovered the issue. It took just 10 minutes to fix. That moment taught me something important. Sometimes progress happens when you stop forcing it. Pressure blinds you. Perspective clears things. I often reflect on what my role has taught me about life. Both in work and beyond, everything boils down to communication. When we speak clearly and listen intentionally, problems shrink. When we ignore, assume, or rush, small issues grow large. That's why I strive to stay honest and calm even under pressure. I've learned that tone can be more powerful than words. A gentle voice can resolve what 100 emails cannot. Another lesson: resilience. The ability to bounce back when things go wrong, projects fail, clients depart, budgets shift. But if your mindset remains resilient, you rebuild. I tell my team, resilience is a muscle. It grows each time you use it. When a project falters, we don't see wasted effort. We see training for the next challenge. After long days of meetings, screens, and deadlines, I crave stillness. That's why I enjoy simple things: walking, reading, cooking. Cooking for me is almost meditative. It's one of the few tasks where I can focus on one simple act: chopping vegetables, mixing flavors, waiting for something to simmer. It reminds me that meaningful things don't always need speed. I also love reading biographies and psychology books. They help me understand others, and that in turn makes me a better manager. Sometimes I see myself reflected in those stories, and it inspires me to grow. Learning, I've realized, never ends. It continues quietly in everyday encounters and situations. People often ask if I ever feel bored doing such simple things after such a demanding workday, but I don't. For me, peace isn't something you find by escaping life. It's something you build by how you engage with it. It's a choice, a daily practice. I've learned to separate what I can control from what I can't. That, I believe, is one of the hardest but most useful lessons of maturity. If there's one thing my career has taught me, it's that success isn't just about completing projects or hitting targets. It's about growing as a person while you do it. Each challenge teaches me something new about patience, listening, and empathy. Leadership isn't learned from titles. It's learned from experience, from people, from mistakes, from the moments when everything falls apart and you're the one holding the pieces together. In those moments, you realize that leadership and life aren't about control. They're about connection. The more you listen, the more people trust you. The more you trust them, the better they perform. And when the team succeeds, it doesn't feel like your success alone. It feels shared. That is the deepest reward in my role. Seeing others grow, seeing someone become confident enough to lead too. So, yes, managing projects is complex, but helping people believe in themselves, helping them find purpose, that's the real challenge and the real joy. Because at the end of each project, what remains isn't the report or the numbers. It's the people, the lessons, and the quiet satisfaction that you contributed in some way. Perfect. If you grasped that story easily, congratulations. Your English is at least C1. Now you're ready for C2, expert level. Here, English sounds effortless, polished, and meaningful. You will hear subtle ideas, uncommon words, and soft rhythms. My name is Elena. Over the years, I have come to see that the hardest part of life isn't making decisions. It's understanding their meaning. When we are young, we imagine every choice opens a door to something better. a better job, a better place, a better self. We walk through those doors one by one, rarely noticing what we leave behind, but eventually we look back and see. Every decision involves both finding and losing. For a long time, I chased progress without direction. I changed jobs, cities, dreams, always moving. But sometimes I wasn't moving toward anything. I was just running from stillness. There's a strange fear in stillness, as if silence may reveal what we were trying to hide. It took me years to understand. Silence isn't empty. It's full of echoes, quiet truths that appear only when the noise subsides. Today, I live differently. My mornings are slow. I brew coffee, open the window, and let the light fall across the floor. That soft moment, fleeting, feels like the most honest part of my day. I don't rush to check messages or plans. I just sit and listen to the hum of the world, to my own thoughts, to the space between things. I once thought meaning came from action. Now I know it grows in reflection. I still work. I'm a consultant. But my relationship with work has evolved. What once felt like pressure now feels like practice. Yes, it's technical and logical, but I focus on the human side behind the structure. Real progress isn't when systems run faster. It's when people inside them begin to feel seen. You can redesign an organization, but if you don't transform how its people see themselves and how they connect, nothing truly changes. Outside of work, I write, not for an audience, but for awareness. Writing is a mirror that doesn't flatter. It shows me where my thoughts begin and where they resist ending. Some days I write about the past, not to live there, but to learn. Other days I write about the future, not to predict, but to accept not knowing. Occasionally, words bring an indescribable clarity, a feeling that cannot be fully captured, but still felt. Lately, I've been thinking about time, not as something that passes, but as something we move through. Some moments feel wide and infinite, others vanish before we notice. I've realized that the quality of time depends less on what we do and more on how awake we are while we do it. A single moment of presence can last longer than a whole day spent rushing. I used to believe growth meant acquiring more goals, more motion, more noise. Now I see it differently. Growth to me is subtraction, the art of letting go. It's choosing what to release so what matters has space to stay. We live in a world that worships addition. More speed, more action, more volume. But real wisdom lies in knowing when to stop, when to rest, when to say, "This is enough." Maybe freedom really is not doing whatever we want, but knowing we don't need everything. Freedom is the quiet equilibrium that comes when you realize you don't measure life by how much you hold, but by how much you appreciate. As I grow older, I see that peace isn't waiting at the end of the road. It walks beside us in the rhythm of our own steps, in the warmth of early light, in the silent certainty that life is happening right now, and right now is enough. All right, If you understood this story easily, congratulations. Your English is near native level. You can follow complex ideas and emotional nuance with ease. But remember, fluency isn't the finish line. Even at C2, there is always more to explore, new stories to hear, and new ways to express yourself. And that brings us to the end of today's journey from A1 to C2. You have listened, reflected, and tested your understanding through 6 English levels. Maybe you found one level easy and the next a bit harder. That's absolutely normal. Language learning isn't a straight path, it's a process of growth. Thank you for listening to this episode of English Unleashed. I'm Tom, and until next time, keep going, keep learning, and remember, fluency isn't a destination, it's a lifestyle. Bye for now. Bye for